I, 28M, have always felt like the black sheep of my family. Growing up, it was clear that my younger sister Bella, 22F, was the golden child. Our parents doted on her constantly, while I was often left to fend for myself. From a young age, the difference in treatment was stark. When Bella wanted new toys or clothes, our parents would rush out to buy them without a second thought. But when I needed new shoes for school because mine had holes, I was told to make do. For my 10th birthday, I got a pack of colored pencils. For Bella's 10th birthday, just 2 years later, she got an elaborate party with pony rides and a custom cake. The favoritism extended to every aspect of our lives. Bella's artwork always got pride of place on the fridge, while mine was tossed in the trash. If we both brought home report cards, hers would be praised endlessly while mine was barely glanced at. When I made the honor roll in high school, my parents just shrugged. When Bella got a B+ on a test, they took her out for a fancy dinner to celebrate. Our parents bent over backwards to cater to Bella's every whim. She'd throw tantrums if she didn't get her way, screaming and crying until our parents gave in. I quickly learned that good behavior got me nowhere, while acting out just resulted in punishment for me. As we got older, the unfair treatment continued. When I graduated high school, I got a card with $50 in it. When Bella graduated 2 years later, our parents gifted her a brand new car. I worked multiple part-time jobs to pay my way through community college. Bella got a full ride to an expensive private university, courtesy of our parents emptying their savings and taking out loans. Every milestone in my life was treated as an afterthought, while Bella's achievements were celebrated like national holidays. When I landed my first real job after college, my parents' response was, "That's nice, dear." When Bella got an internship, they threw a huge party and invited the whole extended family. The constant favoritism really wore me down over the years. I developed severe anxiety and depression, always feeling like I wasn't good enough. I went to therapy on my own dime to work through my issues. Meanwhile, Bella grew more and more entitled and demanding. She'd call our parents at all hours expecting them to solve her problems. If they didn't immediately drop everything for her, she'd guilt-trip them mercilessly. Bella never learned to stand on her own 2 feet because our parents were always there to coddle her. I tried many times over the years to talk to my parents about the unfair treatment, but they always brushed me off, saying I was being overly sensitive or jealous of my sister. They truly couldn't see how their actions were harmful. Last year, I finally managed to land a decent job that paid well enough for me to move out on my own. I was excited to finally have some independence, but as soon as I told my parents the news, they immediately started pressuring me about money. They insisted that as the older sibling, it was my responsibility to start saving up for Bella's future wedding. Never mind that Bella wasn't even in a relationship. Apparently, I needed to put aside a large chunk of my salary just in case. When I pointed out that I had my own expenses and future to think about, they accused me of being selfish. According to them, family should always come first, and I needed to make sacrifices for my sister's happiness. I felt guilty and conflicted. Part of me wanted to stand up for myself, but years of conditioning made it hard. In the end, I reluctantly agreed to put some money aside each month for Bella's hypothetical future wedding, but I also secretly started saving for my own goals too. For years, I dreamed of starting my own business. I had a solid plan for an apparel company specializing in frocks and dresses for little girls, but I knew I'd need significant startup capital to make it happen, so I started tucking away whatever I could from each paycheck. Then a few months ago, something incredible happened. I won $500,000 in the state lottery. I was over the moon. This was exactly the boost I needed to finally pursue my entrepreneurial dreams. But as soon as my parents found out about my windfall, they immediately started making demands. They insisted that I needed to hand over all the money so they could send Bella to an elite graduate program abroad. Apparently, she'd always dreamed of studying in Europe, and this was my chance to make it happen. I was stunned. Here I was with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change my life, and they expected me to just give it all away to fund my sister's whims. When I told them I planned to use the money to start my business, they flew into a rage. They called me selfish and ungrateful. They said I was a terrible son and brother for not putting family first. According to them, I owed it to Bella to fund her dreams, since our parents had sacrificed everything for us growing up. I stood my ground and refused to give them the money. I explained that I had my own goals and aspirations that were just as valid as Bella's, but they wouldn't hear it. They gave me an ultimatum: either hand over the lottery winnings or move out immediately. It was a hard decision, but I chose to leave. I packed up my things and found a small apartment across town. My parents and sister haven't spoken to me since. Sometimes I feel guilty and wonder if I did the right thing, but another part of me feels free for the first time in my life. So Reddit, AITA, for refusing to give my lottery winnings to my parents for my sister's education? Should I have put my own dreams aside once again for the sake of family harmony? Edit. Wow. I wasn't expecting this post to blow up like it did. Thank you all for the supportive comments and advice. I've read through everything and appreciate the perspective. I'll post an update soon with some more details on how things have progressed. Update 1. It's been about 3 months since my original post, and a lot has happened. I wanted to give an update on the situation with my family and my plans going forward. After moving out of my parents' house, I threw myself into my work. I was determined to save as much money as possible to get my business off the ground. But I also wanted to prove to myself that I could succeed on my own terms. About a month after I left, my parents reached out to me. I was hopeful at first that they wanted to reconcile, but it quickly became clear they had an agenda. They started by saying they missed me and wanted to make amends. Then they dropped the real reason for the call. Apparently, Bella had been accepted into her dream graduate program at a prestigious university in London. My parents were thrilled, of course, but there was a catch. The tuition and living expenses were astronomical. They didn't have nearly enough saved up to cover it. That's where I came in. They wanted me to loan them a large portion of my lottery winnings to fund Bella's education. They promised they'd pay me back eventually, but I knew that was unlikely to happen. When I hesitated, they laid on the guilt trip thick. They talked about how this was Bella's one shot at her dreams, how she'd be devastated if she couldn't go, how I'd be ruining her future if I didn't help. I stood firm and told them no. I explained again that I was using that money to start my own business. They got angry and accused me of being selfish again. My mom actually said, "I guess the money has changed you. You used to care about your family." That really stung. I've always cared about my family, even when they didn't seem to care much about me. But I realized in that moment that nothing I ever did would be enough for them. I'd always be the bad guy in their eyes unless I gave them everything they wanted. So I made a decision. I told them that I was done being their ATM, that I loved them, but I needed to put myself first for once, and that if they couldn't respect my choices, then maybe we needed some time apart. They didn't take it well. There was a lot of yelling and crying. My dad said I was dead to him if I didn't help Bella. In the end, I had to hang up on them mid-tirade. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. After that call, I blocked their numbers for a while. I needed space to process everything and focus on my goals. I threw myself into planning my business launch. I did tons of research, networked with other entrepreneurs, and started putting together a solid business plan. About a month ago, I took the plunge and quit my day job to focus on my company full-time. It was scary, but also exhilarating. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was truly in control of my future. I've spent the last few weeks setting up my workshop and getting everything in order. I've hired a few part-time seamstresses to help with production. We're starting small with an online store, but I have plans to expand into brick-and-mortar locations if things go well. My first collection of girls' frocks and dresses is almost ready to launch. I'm nervous, but excited to see how they're received. I've put my heart and soul into every design, and I truly believe in the quality of our products. Throughout this process, I've had moments of doubt, times where I wondered if I was making a huge mistake. But then I remind myself of how far I've come and how much happier I am now that I'm living life on my own terms. I still haven't heard from my parents or Bella. Part of me misses them and wishes things could be different. But another part of me feels lighter and freer than I have in years. I'm learning to be okay with the distance and focusing on building the life I want. So that's where things stand now. I'm about to launch my dream business and start a new chapter in my life. I'm nervous, but optimistic about the future. Thank you all again for your support and encouragement. It really helped give me the strength to stand my ground and pursue my goals. I'll post another update down the road to let you know how the business launch goes and if there are any new developments with my family. Wish me luck. Update 2. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some major developments that have happened recently. First, some good news. My apparel business has really taken off. Our online store has been doing great, with steady sales and lots of repeat customers. The frocks and dresses have been a hit, especially our line of matching sibling outfits. We've even had a few of our designs featured in some popular parenting blogs. About 2 months ago, I took a big leap and opened a small brick-and-mortar boutique. It was nerve-wracking, but it's been doing well so far. There's something really special about seeing little girls try on our dresses in person and twirl around the store. It makes all the hard work feel worth it. I've been working long hours, but I love what I'm doing. For the first time in my life, I feel truly fulfilled and proud of my accomplishments. And the best part is, I did it all on my own terms. Now for the not-so-good news. Last week, I got an unexpected call from my parents. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. As soon as I picked up, I could tell something was wrong. My mom was crying, and my dad sounded more subdued than I'd ever heard him. They told me that Bella had gotten into some serious trouble. Apparently, she'd been working part-time at a local boutique while applying to grad schools. My parents had been supporting her financially, but it wasn't enough to fund her lavish lifestyle. So Bella had started stealing money from the cash register at work. She'd gotten away with it for a while, but she finally got caught red-handed trying to pocket some cash. The store owner called the police, and Bella was arrested. My parents were frantic. They didn't have enough money for bail, let alone a lawyer. They were calling to ask, or rather beg, for my help. They needed several $1,000s to get Bella out of jail and start building her legal defense. I was conflicted. On one hand, I was still hurt by how they'd treated me. A part of me wanted to tell them they'd made their bed and now they had to lie in it. But on the other hand, I knew jail could be a dangerous place, especially for a young woman. After thinking it over, I decided to help, but on my terms. I agreed to pay Bella's bail, but I made it clear this was a one-time thing. I told my parents I'd transfer the money directly to the bail bondsman, not to them. And I made it clear that this didn't mean I was opening my wallet for them whenever they wanted. They were grateful, albeit a bit taken aback by my conditions. For once, they didn't argue or try to guilt me into giving more. I think the gravity of the situation had finally made them realize they couldn't keep taking me for granted. After Bella was released, my parents called again. This time, their tone was different. They actually apologized for how they'd treated me over the years. They said seeing me succeed with my business while Bella floundered had opened their eyes to how unfair they'd been. They asked if I'd consider moving back home, saying they missed me and wanted to make amends. I was touched, but wary. I told them I appreciated the apology, but that I was happy living independently. I suggested we start with small steps, maybe a family dinner once a month, to rebuild our relationship slowly. They agreed, seeming to understand that they couldn't just expect things to go back to normal overnight. We've had 2 dinners so far, and while things are still a bit awkward, it feels like we're making progress. As for Bella, she's facing some serious charges. My parents are scrambling to find her a good lawyer. They haven't asked me for more money, which I appreciate. I hope this serves as a wake-up call for her to get her act together. So that's where things stand now. My business is thriving. I'm cautiously rebuilding my relationship with my family, and I'm feeling more confident and self-assured than ever before. It hasn't been an easy road, but I'm proud of how far I've come. Thank you all again for your support throughout this journey. Your encouragement really helped me stay strong and stick to my convictions. I'm excited to see what the future holds,